All right, another work week done. I got my extension cord for my welder, so pretty excited about all that. I can finish up on the welding in the front here and build my little filler plates, get this thing all buzzed in, and hopefully be pretty much done with the welding. I did order a different fuel cell, so I'm gonna have to build up some sort of contraption back here to mount that guy. But in the meantime, I've got myself some 3/16 plate. So I'm going to go ahead and cut some templates now this morning and get my little filler pieces in, and then I will box the inside of the frame in front of the subframe, leave the back for now, but planning on getting that all done and wrapped up here this morning, I hope. So let's get to it. Okay, what I got done now is I've just taken a piece of cardboard and made a template, and I'm going to take that and transfer it over to my sheet and cut out a piece of metal that I can weld in there. It fits pretty awesome. I think I'll probably have to grind it and fit it a little bit more once it's made out of metal, but I got that done and I got the frame all cleaned up here. I'm going to weld an extra plate on the outside of that just for a little overkill and get this part of the job wrapped up. Really looking forward to being done this so we can move on. So let's take this guy out now. Take it over to our table over here and transfer this onto the steel. Cut that out with my grinder, which is the arduous way of doing it, but it's the only way I got to do it right now. My plasma cutter is completely piled up. So let's get at it. Okay, so what I've got done now is I've cut these plates out of metal, and I've gone ahead and just put a couple tack welds in there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to weld this guy in all solid. Probably just going to do a few, maybe 2-inch long beads, and that'll be all the strength we really need. I don't need to weld it the whole distance and get it super hot and everything else. The one thing that I did run into here is that the bed bolts go in here and again up here. And now that I've boxed these in, it's completely blocked being able to get a nut on the backside. So what I did is I went ahead and I ordered bolts out of a newer F150, and they come with a captured nut. So either I'll open up this hole a little bit so the nut can kind of move around, or I might even weld the nut in and then run the bolt in from the top. The new bolts have like an Allen head that drives them down into the nut below. So that should be a good easy way to fix this all up without having to blast a big hole in here just to get access to a nut, and then crawl around under the truck trying to get the carriage bolt to stay flat while you tighten it up. And I mean, that can be a real pain in the butt. So pretty happy with how this is all turning out, and I'm going to go ahead now and weld the rest of it, and that'll be pretty much it. I've also ground the frame smooth on both sides. So what I'll do now is I'm going to cut some plates, and I'm just going to go ahead and weld those on the outside. Probably completely overkill, but we're in here doing it anyways, so why not? The only thing is if I run out of zip discs, because just to cut these two plates out here, I use 3 zip discs through my 4.5-inch angle grinder, and it's slow and it makes a ton of mess, but we're getting it done. It's all about doing what you can with what you have, and yeah, I think in the end we're going to have a pretty nice project all finished up here. So onward, let's get this welded. There, that's all done now. Gotta say, I am really loving my new welder. It's probably some of the best welding I can do. And yeah, I'm totally happy with how this thing lays a bead. So happy to have this part done too. So next up, time to make a couple plates for the frame on the outside here, where I've got it all cleaned up where we welded it when we cut the frame to make it a short box. So I'm going to go ahead and cut some plates out of that same steel and build a couple outside plates for the frame rail now. There it is, my metal braces are welded in, and I can now say that is it for welding. I'm going to bolt that last piece in. I got some bolts and hardware just a little bit earlier. So now I've got it all cleaned up, and I'm going to try a product I haven't used before, but I hear good things. It's the POR 15. What I'm going to start with is this metal prep. I've never used it, but it says to apply it and keep it wet for 10 to 30 minutes and then rinse it off with water and get it good and dry before putting on the actual POR 15. So that's what I'm going to attempt next, and we'll see how that goes and see what this stuff does. Alright, so what I'm doing here is I just put some of that metal prep in a styrofoam container, or styrofoam cup, and I'm just brushing it on. I did a little test piece here before, and yeah, you can see this stuff just, see a chemical reaction kind of start, and it just starts eating the rust. So it's pretty interesting. We'll see what it looks like after we get it all off, but so far I'm pretty impressed. And it says if you do this, that the paint, or whatever that POR is, they say it's not really paint, but they say it'll stick better than if you don't use this prep. So we'll give it a try. We've got nothing to lose, and see how it kind of works out. So far the results are pretty interesting. And put it on here where it's really good and heavy rusted, where I couldn't really get in there with the flap wheel to clean it up. And yeah, right away you can see it just starts to convert this rust to something else. Nothing at all like the spray stuff you can buy, metal prep, rust prep, whatever it is. This stuff seems to be quite a bit more potent, and it smells absolutely terrible. So I usually find things that smell really bad tend to work better. And I guess that's what we got here. It's definitely it's like spreading on water. There's no paint consistency to this stuff at all, or thickness to it at all. Kind of like soapy water. But stays wet, so it's not water. It's definitely not water-based because it's so dry up here. Everything you get wet just dries instantly, and this stuff seems to be sticking around. So that's interesting. There it is. I soaked it all down with the metal prep and let it sit for probably about 25-30 minutes, and came back and rinsed it off with the hose, and then blew it off with my air compressor because the instructions say it has to be bone dry, in their words. But that's going to take some time, so I'm probably just going to take a little break. Alright, so I got my POR 15 ready to go. I've got the frame all cleaned up, coated with the prep, and yeah, it looks pretty cool after putting that prep on. It's got zinc in it, I guess, so that's what you see as far as the bit of yellow color, I guess. But I've heard the stuff's pretty messy, so I put down this blanket. Plus it gives me something to crawl around on, which is okay. And I'm just going to go ahead and start applying it. It says to do 2 coats, so let's get on with the first coat and see how it goes. All right, there it is. I'm all done with the paint, or whatever that stuff is, because everybody swears it's not paint, but it's paint to me. I'm really impressed with how flat it lays down. After it just kind of seems to run into all the little spots and holes and everything else, and just flatten right out and leaves a really nice glossy finish. Super impressed. So now I gotta wait for this to dry. It's still tacky. It's probably been an hour or so. But I'll leave it overnight, and maybe I'll get some stuff done during the week this week. But otherwise, I mean, yeah, that's about it. I may mask off the aluminum bits here and just fog it all with a top coat. I've heard some stuff about this POR stuff that, I mean, one, it's not UV resistance, but that's not a problem here because it's under the bed. But why not just kind of seal it in and top coat it? That'll more than likely happen. If it doesn't, I don't think it's going to be a problem. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this is all turning out. Hopefully the fuel tank gets here this week. And got to get a drive shaft built yet. Oh, I got this really cool little drive shaft yoke adapter from Factory 5, the guys who build all the kit cars. So this thing's pretty cool because it actually goes into that front flange on the Mustang drive or pinion there, and it lets me bolt on a standard U-joint other than this kind of weird rubber drive that they run on those, because being a fixed suspension or a fixed differential, it doesn't require a U-joint per se, as long as it's lined up deadly straight. But in this application, it's going to run a U-joint, so this guy here is what's going to make that work. So that's pretty exciting. I got that all figured out. Still got to source some bolts for it. I think I'll just order them from Ford for a Mustang. But those guys were great. I actually ordered the wrong one first and talked to somebody there, and they exchanged it no problem. It does turn out that there are differences in the drive flanges depending on what engine the car was equipped with. And the first one I got in was just a little bit too big. So they guys were really good at Factory 5, no questions asked, just swapped it out for me. They even paid the shipping on the second one for me, which I thought was awesome. So that's about it until next weekend. Thanks for watching.